sorry. I don't know why it's giving me a hard time. Oh, sorry, guys. There we go. Gotta love technology. Here we are. Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to Drawing Down the Dragon. I'm Snappy, and thank you for joining me today. And I'm joined by my dear friend, Graham. How's it going, Graham?
Happy to be here.
Oh, can you hear me, Graham?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Amazing, amazing. Life is beautiful. Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. Okay. All right. Beautiful stuff. So I'm joined by Graham, and we're here to interview him today to discuss his latest poetry collection. So, for those of you who are unaware, Graham Cwinn, our dear friend here, he is a poet, a musician, an artist, and you have composed several collections over the years, and we have done several deep dives into your poetry collections here on the channel. And this is your latest collection, and we're excited to be able to dig into this one. So if you like what you see here, please go back and check previous episodes we've gone through. Graham, how many poetry collections have you written now?
This is my 23rd.
Your 23rd collection. And over the last couple of years, we must have done at least 12 or so episodes, I think.
Something like that. Yeah, we've done more than half.
Amazing stuff, though. Absolutely love your poetry. It's always so raw, visceral, and personal, and takes us deep to your world. So, talk to us about this upcoming collection that you just released, This Human Face. And yeah, tell us about what led to this collection and what its theme is. Oh, sorry.
Um, what led me to the collection was the photograph I took of the cover. Uh, that was in 2010, I believe, when I took that picture in Madrid in a Central Park. And I always wanted to use it for something. It always resonated
Okay.
with me deeply, this idea of the mask. And just
Oh, that's
thinking
really
about
cool.
why. Thank you. It's about thinking about like why do we wear masks? There are many reasons. We wear masks sometimes as a declaration of our identity, or it could be a way to hide our identity as well. Or it can be you wear the mask to transform, whether for protection or you know as a part of your
Yeah,
armor.
right. Are we blending into society? Are we trying to stand out? Oh, there's so many ways that you can utilize the mask, but ultimately it's about self-protection and empowerment, right? It allows us to don our armor and to present ourselves empowered, right? Whether that is to be seen or to be invisible is up to the wearer, but wild stuff in masks, and they also connect us to archetypes. Often masks have spirits, right? Connections to the ancestors. They can be imbued with a spiritual force. In the theater, you even see this with the archetypical masks, such as the Commedia dell'arte. Of course, you
Yeah.
know all this, Graham, being a theater major, but just for the audience, right? It's such a profound symbol that is very deeply resonant and human. And when we're talking about the mask, it's not just the literal theater mask, but it's the costumes that we wear, how we present ourselves, the images we construct in order to face the world, right?
You said it best.
Excuse me, sorry.
Bless you.
Okay. So this is such a cool little picture here. So you took this in Madrid at the park?
Yeah, in 2010, I think, is when I was in Madrid in like this huge Central Park kind of area. And this statue stood out to me immediately because I'm obsessed with masks. I have a lot of masks in my personal collection. And yeah, it was just a striking image of identity
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah. I remember
transformation.
we've definitely seen the mask thing as something that's a theme in your work. I remember you have a couple of those masks that you've used as covers of your very previous poetry collections. There was
Exactly.
that One
This
artist. What was
the
that
dust
artist's name?
Jim Davis.
Right. Really
Yeah,
cool
I have a
stuff.
few of his masks, and they're beautiful. I also have a Commedia dell'arte mask of the Arlecchino.
Cool. That's so cool.
Yeah,
But yeah, let's dig into this poetry collection. Do you want me to go to
sure,
the first
sure.
slide?
Yeah, yeah. So this is kind of funny. It's a quote from The Dark Knight Rises.
Are
Uh,
you an edgelord, Grant? Yeah.
I am not. I am not. This is like one of the only intros I have that isn't Darto.
Oh wow.
So it just says no one cared who I was until I put on the mask. I think that's like sets the tone well for the rest of the collection. You know,
Right.
it's a declaration of identity in this case.
Yeah. Until you construct the image, people don't care, right? Oof.
Right. This is one of the first poems. I'll read it. From ritual to profession. The chorus sways in a grand procession. The actor dances in a mesmerizing deception. This is not my real face. Without this mask, I am nothing, just the void in human form. This brave new world demands a sacrifice. We must discard who we truly are to fit into an unforgiving mold. What once was a reverent ritual has become a desperate reach for survival.
Oh wow. Interesting. A desperate reach for survival. That is often what ritual is. Ritual is the act of the desperate person. This is why you see a lot of these rites, right? They're crying out for rain, right? They're in an act of desperation. They're slaughtering what's valuable to them in hopes of it bringing something greater. Wild stuff. That's some interesting
Exactly. And
thinking.
from ritual to profession was the name of one of my theater courses in university. I thought it just set the tone very well of this transformation of theater being a magical ritual to being a profession or like a way to survive in the world in a
Absolutely.
different way than ancient cultures had.
Yeah, it's really, really interesting. The ritual, the hierophant, right? The one pulling the keys behind the curtain, all of these different theater players, right? They all had to have other forms of work in life often, or they were subsisted upon by the community. But now it's so interesting how these things evolve and they transform, right? Really, really cool
Definitely.
stuff.
Thank you.
Okay, let's continue.
You are me and I am you. Gaze into my eyes as I gaze into yours. We discover pieces that we lost before. Never speak, lest we be considered weak. People seek an intimate glimpse of the hurting self that stagnates beneath.
Oh wow.
So it's
That's
about
interesting.
seeing yourself in the other and seeing the other in yourself. Um, the search for a yearning for vulnerability, but also the fear of being known.
Right? Exposing yourself and then being judged, right? Admitting your weaknesses and then no longer appearing desirable, right? It's like it's all such a dance with the. You want to be that to bear all, but to bear all is to what? Stand in ugliness,
So I guess so.
stagnates, right? Potentially, that's the fear, I guess, or one of the
That's the
fears.
fear, yeah.
Interesting. Is there any other context? Like, what was the context when you were writing this one?
Um, Sort of like trauma sharing, I guess, trauma dumping, or like finding a common base amidst the trials of life.
Wow, beautiful.
This one is my favorite in the collection. My friend Liam really helped me hone and refine this one. Which, I don't normally ask people for criticism, but he's a friend, very good friend of mine. He got me into writing for a lot of it. This is Icarus. The wax in my wings giving up on me, like the disappointment I've instilled in my family. I never meant to harm, but these arms are numb and I'm burning us all. I truly believe you will be better off without me. Let me plunge into the sea, wind biting my skin as I plummet. All this shame is drowning me, pounding inside my skull. I cry out, hands reaching for the sun, palms searing as I grasp for anyone to save me as I fall.
Ooh, that's wild. I love that imagery of Icarus. Icarus is such a cool story with the wax wings and trying to rise to the sun and then melting, you know?
Definitely.
So
And
that's go ahead.
no, no, you can go.
So that was your I imagine that was your inspiration, right? The story of Icarus and then using that as a
Yeah,
parallel for yourself.
exactly. Whereas instead of the literal sun, I guess it would be a symbol of warmth, I guess, searching to soar but also connect, and how that relationships break down often the more we search for them.
Right. Wow.
And
Oof.
just trying to overcome my own illness and try to connect to people, but watching myself burn bridges at the same time as I try to build new ones.
Right. For those of unaware, Graham, you've been dealing with schizoaffective disorder your whole life, but this is a common struggle for you trying to connect and trying to live a normal life in spite of the disorder, right?
Exactly. It's a very pervasive illness, and I often see myself losing connections because of it, gaining connections as well. I've met some wonderful people through being open and intimate about my journeys, but it can also degrade relationships as well.
Right. Well, it causes all kinds of it's hard when when you're going through the kind of things that you go through on a regular basis. How do you can't maintain a regular job. It's hard for you to do so much. I mean, you make it through though, you know.
Yeah, I use a lot of my art as ways of coping and transforming myself, and
Beautiful stuff.
yeah, want
All
to keep
right.
going?
Let's yeah.
Leeches, or the great work machine. All hail the great work machine, offer all of us to its hungry maw. I am unable to fit in, my sickness a flag signaling that I am not worthy to live. And so these incantations of deception hide me, a thinly veiled facade, from the jagged teeth which strips us of individuality. A diet of blood and identity. The gluttonous mouths of oligarchy suck the life from our pores like filthy leeches, demanding more, more, more.
Oof. That's a cool one.
I think a lot of people can relate to this one, maybe. Um, you
Absolutely.
know, putting on the mask to as an occupation, work. Masking as in like presenting yourself as neurotypical or non-ill, like presenting yourself as someone who's well, and how this facade can eat away at us inside, and these pressures to fit in.
Oh wow, yeah. No, it's so true, right? And at work, it's like you have to be this work image that's part and parcel of the job, right? Is donning this company appointed mask for the purposes of, work. And we all celebrate this loss of identity, this degrading of self for that company dime. And if you don't do it though, then you can't survive, right? It's like, oh.
Exactly. I'm on disability and I barely make enough to get by. Whereas, but
Right.
compared to being able to work, I've rarely been able to hold down a steady job for more than like a couple years. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, yeah.
Crazy, crazy
Any other
stuff.
comments on this one?
It's just it's beautiful, incredible energy or just imagery, incantations of deception, right? How they pull us in, hide us with their thinly veiled facade from the jagged teeth. You feel this loss of self into that corporate identity, and yeah, just Great imagery here.
Thank you. Thank you. Trapped in the wake of your dream. Is this real, or is it fantasy? You claim to have thought me into existence, a violent birth, bursting through the front of your skull. Fluids issue forth from the wound. I am the placental refuse that emerges shrieking from your brain. Everywhere I turn, I am met with unrealistic expectations. The fists of this world pummel me and strap me down. Injections and pills intended to keep me safe are falling short. I am considered subhuman because of my diagnosis. Trapped in the wake of your dream. There are only two ways out. One is death, and the other, mental institutions.
Oh wow.
So there's a bit of a backstory behind this piece. In addition to my schizoaffective disorder, which I was diagnosed with about 5 years ago or so. But when I was in high school, someone at the mall approached me and they said, "You only exist because I imagined you." And then they walked away. And
Jesus.
that has profoundly affected my psychosis for like 20 years now, of like this belief that some other entity has created me for their own amusement. And I
That's a mind
and so
trip. Wow.
and a lot of the imagery is sort of like Athena being birthed from Zeus's head. The head birth is what I was trying to embody there. And being considered subhuman because of a diagnosis, because of schizoaffective as a label, I've been denied many treatments that would potentially help me. Because, so for those who aren't familiar, schizoaffective only affects about 0.3 to 0.5% of the population. It's quite uncommon. And whenever I'm faced with potential treatment trials, I've been turned away because of my diagnosis. Just saying, "Oh, we're not familiar enough with this, so we don't want to move forward with treatment."
That's such a frustrating situation to be in. Like, wow.
It is. It's very frustrating. I did ECT about 2 years ago now, or a year ago, and it was not successful. My doctor wanted me to try ketamine, but it's private, and all the ketamine clinics I've approached said they won't work with schizoaffective disorder because they don't have the knowledge or the confidence to treat me.
Ugh. That's such a like that's so frustrating. That's so frustrating. How are you supposed to figure any of this out if no doctor is willing to take the risk? You know?
Exactly. So I'm on a medication called clozapine now, and I'm approaching the max recommended dose, and not really doing much either, which is too bad because it's a very pervasive treatment. Blood
Oof.
work every week for 6 months, and then blood work every 2 weeks for 6 months, and then blood work every monthly. And it's just like slowly edging up the dosages, and then oh, this doesn't actually work, so we have to taper back down, start a new one, taper slowly up. It's very difficult with psychiatric medications, because if you just stop
So
them
many,
suddenly,
yeah,
if you
you'll
stop
have
them
all these
suddenly,
reverse.
all these
Go ahead.
withdrawal symptoms, and if you are too aggressive with increasing the dose right away, then it can cause problems. So, I'm on my 20th medication now that I've tried since I was like 15.
20th medication. Oh my god. Must feel like a guinea pig at this point.
That really is what it feels like. So that's all to say is that this poem is about my frustration with my situation, I guess.
Right. You don't feel like there's any way out but an institution at this point.
Exactly. And I've been in psych wards many times, and not a fun place. Not a fun place.
No, I can't imagine, right? It's more like a prison than anything, from what I understand.
Yeah, it's pretty awful. I was in all of June this year for about a month. I was in the ward, and yeah, it's not fun. Not fun. A lot of people in crisis pooled together in short confines, and The doctors can only treat so much, for how long you're there. So yeah,
Oh, yeah. It's
it's better
wild.
than it used to be for sure, but it's not great either.
Right. Right. It's just, yeah, it's a place where you go out of desperation, really, and to be monitored 24/7.
Exactly, which is necessary sometimes, but at the same
I
time, you can
would,
start to lose
yeah,
yourself there
yeah. I can't imagine, right? You're just in the beige walls.
with the grippy socks.
Oh God. Well, I
There's
remember we had this conversation where there was a couple. There was one of my favorite poems of yours. I can't remember the title, but you'll know it. Was about this painting that used to be in the hallway of this, like,
discharge.
yeah.
Yeah, so when I was in the ward in November, they had this beautiful painting on the wall, and it was sending messages into my mind telling me that it was going to be okay. And I found great comfort in this. Usually my psychosis is very disturbing and scary, but this felt like warm and comforting. And then when I went back in June, the painting was no longer there. There's just a blank space on the wall, little hole where the nail was. And I was looking forward to seeing the painting again, but then it was gone. I was really sad.
Wild stuff. The little thing, but people forget how much these little things can make a huge difference. A little bit of color in your life, the power of art to really transform a situation.
Exactly, exactly. You want to keep
Wild.
going?
Yeah.
This is This Human Face, part two. I didn't read part one because it felt a bit redundant. Forced to wear a hideous mask. If I remove it, I am met with scorn. Be yourself. No, not like that. Societal chains shackle my ankles and wrists. Dragged through this desert where fire rains from the sky. Do not cry out, or you will be beaten and broken. Contortions of my face, I am twisted into a smile as they attempt to replace me, reduce me to a file in which they sign and initial my life away.
Wow, this is something I think a lot of us can feel and relate to, right? Having to wear a mask to conform, being forced to conform because, you don't fit in. Be yourself, but don't not like that.
Yeah,
This is a constant thing. We're always encouraged, be unique, be beautiful. But no, don't really. We only just say that. The reality
yeah,
is truly unique and wild people never get never get the real attention. It's only unless you're beautiful, right? You're allowed to be unique if you're beautiful and talented.
there's
Otherwise, we don't
there's
want
a
to see it.
there's a good meme that has Rudolph on it, and it says that deviation from the norm will not be tolerated unless it is exploitable.
Right. Unless it's exploitable and proven useful. Gosh. But
Yeah,
it's
the
true. It's true. And it's this wild dichotomy because as youths we're always told so much, be yourself, pursue your dreams, and then you get into the world of reality, the greater world, and they're like, no, don't do any of that.
yeah. It's
Oof.
like people always ask me, so what do you do? As if my occupation defines me. And I'm like,
That's well,
what do I do? I live.
right,
I live.
right.
That's what I do. I create art, I socialize, and I live to the best of my capabilities.
Well, and so much of that question, it just infuriates me because
It's
it
loaded.
often it's loaded, and it's about putting you. It's a question of how much can I judge you? You know, if you tell me, oh, you work at the corner store, well, you're going to be on this rung. And if you tell me that you're a lawyer, you're going to be on this rung. And it's just like, no, 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 I don't want to play this game, right? Like, can we just have a conversation? Why are we analyzing occupations here?
Absolutely. The power of the gaze is dangerous because it's assumptions.
Right? all of these assumptions, and people make, yeah, people just jump to wild conclusions that they have no business, you know. And for someone like you, right, this is a hard thing because you're unable to have a career in the traditional sense, you know. And so people who don't know you, that you tell them that you don't have that, they're going to go, oh, why? Well, grant you, oh, now you're immediately, you stand out as different, you know.
Yeah,
And it's,
totally,
yeah,
totally.
weird stuff. Oh, humanity. Right? Beautiful and ugly all at the same time, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Getting towards the end here. It's gonna be a shorter
Okay.
episode, but that's okay.
Yeah, well, fine. This is beautiful.
This one, the title is part of a song title by At the Gates. Cemetery of Screams. Angels and gargoyles are chiseled and released to stand guard over all these graves. I can't see them breathe, but I can hear them weep for all the people lost in the death march of progress and profit, which forces us to carry on until our knees buckle beneath the weight of trying to be okay. Chastised for our struggles, yet mourned when we pass on. Loved ones sobbing, companies robbing caskets and turning your corpses into marionettes that dance to their morbid tune. And still the headstones despair, crying out in the cemetery of screams.
Ooh, wow.
So obviously a common theme throughout this of chastised for our struggles yet mourned when we pass on. It's like companies will be like, "Oh, mental health month, we care about you," but then like do nothing to actually help.
Well, isn't this is also true? I always think of, the tragic artist meme, right? The artist isn't protected and celebrated when they're alive, and then they die in a violent way, and then we all go, oh, weren't they beautiful? Look at all this creative art that they had. But no one
Yeah,
noticed when they were struggling. No one was there to support them at their lowest, except for their, the most intimate people. But that societal love comes after. It comes after, to gawk and to gaze, right?
100%. And if that image that they had is profitable, then they'll be danced around and paraded before, the loved one's very eyes.
Right. All of a sudden that story becomes a marketing piece in order to sell more junk, imprinted with that artist's creative spark.
And Van Gogh's a good example of this, or Van
Right,
Gogh.
exactly. That's
Yeah.
exactly who I'm thinking of as Van Gogh, is the most classic of that. But you see this with many a different artists, or you
Oh,
whitewash and you
definitely.
change the image. It's like we all love Salvador Dali and Picasso today. And it's like, they celebrate them as these giants, but when you really look at these people, they're kind of monstrous, you know? And it's like,
Yeah, for
good
sure.
art be damned sometimes. I don't know. But people are complicated also. It's
Oh,
whatever
everyone's
whatever.
complicated. We all have our own stories and our own paths, and sometimes those stories or narratives are easier to parade around than others.
Right. Yeah. But it's always weird how we construct, these images. It's like so much about just thinking of all this stuff with masks, right? So much about these artists is about the story that they create and the images that they manifest, the masks that they wear. you know this is one of the interesting things. Like, we we always talk excuse me, we always talk about Artaud, and one of the wild things about Artaud is he sought to destroy himself and become, that image that could exist beyond the body, right? The body without organs. But this is kind of like a pure idealized form of self, right? The Christ reborn. you know the Momo is nothing and everything at the same time, so he's trying to manifest that purity of image, and that in many ways is the donning of a mask as much as it's a taking off of one, is it not?
Yeah, definitely. It's putting on a different costume or a different taking a different form. Yeah.
Well, it's there's so much about this idea of the image and its relation to the body and to the self, right? Is the image a product of the body? Can you free the image from the body, right? And like this is what's interesting about Artaud, right? Is that he tries to get around this duality of image and body by creating the body without organs, where it's like the body becomes the image and exists beyond the physical body, but it doesn't cease to be the body, nor is it distinct from the body. Where it gets so wild,
It's a
right?
very nuanced concept. Yeah.
But this is like heavy philosophy, though, you know, because you're dealing with one of the more important aspects of the Western philosophical tradition with this image body duality, right? You see people like Nietzsche talk about this a lot and Hegel, but yeah, wild stuff. Anyway, sorry to
Definitely.
go off on a diatribe.
No, no, it's great. It's great. It's what we're here for.
All right, let's continue. Let's
It's-
read this. Is this the last one then?
it, it is, and it's the last one in the collection as well. And the title
Okay.
referencing Dark Knight again, Bane of your existence. This insistence that I live how I want. I refuse to be who you want me to be. I shattered this mask to set myself free, barely surviving on disability, struggling in therapy. I know who I wish to become and that they are living inside of me. I used to only see them briefly, peeking out of the wounds from self harm, but I am beginning to feel myself digging out of this hole you have made for me.
Oh, interesting. More Batman imagery.
Yeah, yeah, I had to have it there as a play on words, you know.
Oh, it's
Um,
great though. It's great though. You know?
it's a final recognition of shattering the mask that society wants us to wear and being living my most authentic self as I can, whatever that might really mean. But
Right.
you know, digging out of the hole that you made for me, sort of like Woods of Ypres have a song. We've dug this hole for ourselves, but we'll bury you instead. And it's kind of reminded me of that.
Makes me think of, you see this the way that, you see this idea of like Fortuna, fortune, right? As the goddess that impearls and pressurizes you, forces you to overcome your limits, right? Gives you the trial, but the trial then makes you greater. And there's always that kind of thing, yeah, you've been pushed into this hole, but you get the to rise out of it.
Exactly.
And that rising is a very much a rising, you know.
It's a
So
transformation.
really, exactly, really beautiful stuff. There's always that duality, we have to go through the struggle is beautiful. Think about so much of our life, right? Would you really give up the struggle that leads to the beautiful moments? Often no,
Hard to
right?
say. Yeah,
Right. Wild to think about.
definitely.
Interesting. Interesting. So Graham, what is your like? So talk to us a little bit about masks here. Now that we've gone through the collection, this human face. What is your feelings on masks? What do you want to leave the audience with?
Um, Protect yourself, but celebrate yourself. You know, finding being proud in your identity, and I guess knowing when you should be taking off the mask, when you should be keeping it on. I guess. I don't know. Hard to say. Hard to say
This
because
immediately makes me think. Go ahead, sir.
no, no, no. You can go.
Oh, I was just gonna say it just makes me think too. Like I'm always really invested and interested in this um, Greek philosophical tradition. And I always go back to the central Delphic maxim, which is know thyself, you know? And so many people have talked about this, and part of the knowing the self is to know humanity, right? And it's to know the masks, and it's to know all of these different things in their infinite variety that you wear and experience. To know the self is to go through the experience of life, right? And that means to become intimate with the mask, but also to recognize these things as masks, that we are in that fundamental state of change, right? Why anyway, it's interesting.
Well
What do you
said.
think?
Yeah, yeah, that reminds me, we've talked about this before, but the skene and theater, you go into the space, you inhale the fumes, you remove your mask, you put on a new one, and it's a cycle of transformation and changing masks, and because each mask serves a different purpose and represents something different, and you can embody that thing or that image for as long as you want, really.
Wow, yeah. For a time at least.
For a time, yeah, yeah. Eventually, the mask will crumble and wear away, so you have to be
Right.
careful with that.
But it's interesting. It's interesting. Masks are meant to be donned, and we all have to construct these stories and construct these images, right? It's always a construct, you know? But
Absolutely,
that's
absolutely,
also the process of knowing and becoming the self, is to create the self and to wear the mask, you know?
absolutely. That's what I'm saying. You can celebrate yourself while also, protecting yourself at the same time. It's a multi-purpose tool.
It's just funny, like I just keep thinking, like, in this current moment of our society, like, it's seemingly impossible to remove oneself from the political nonsense. And one thing about politicians is, like, you get to see the bullshit and the steaming lies, like, right up front. And they just kind of like, they have the audacity to tell you it's not a lie, but they're all full of it completely. But the thing is that we're all kind of more like politicians than we want to admit. We all have these bullshit backstories. We all have this front facing facade. We all have this. And the sooner we learn to recognize this and construct this and to deal with this and to not allow and to allow this to change and develop as we grow, the better we are, you know. But I just, we see so much hubris from the common people, and also they fall for this nonsense at the same time because they don't want to recognize the inauthenticity of everyone. But
Totally.
it go ahead, sir.
In one of his letters, Artaud says the world is going to have to bleed as payment for the crime of having been knowingly misled about nature and reality,
Right,
buying into the narrative that is destroying us, because it's easier to accept than to form a new society or a new mask.
right, rather
You
than to
know,
challenge the status quo, right? This is the thing, people they smell the stink of dead metaphor, of forgotten myth, and all of this heap of waste and capitalistic overgrowth. And yet, rather than do, they go, but this is all that's ever been done before. We can't do
right?
anything different, They
Yeah,
just
it's
pile
a it's a
on with
sad
a trash heap.
it's a sad complacency that's been latched onto.
But we're all guilty of this at the same time,
Oh
you
yeah,
know.
definitely.
Ugh. Oh
Ugly but
wow.
beautiful.
Ugly but beautiful. That's the human experience. And so much of it is just a mask. It's a false vision. It's a constructed propaganda piece.
You have to know when to take off the mask and when to keep it on. And that's
Yeah.
different for everyone in any situation. Everyone has to approach it in their own way.
But can you ever take off the mask?
Hard to say. We wear a mask for ourselves too, right?
This is what I mean. Like, this is why something like knowing the self is such a complex thing. We can know ourselves, we can know the masks, and we can see ourselves in relation to them. But can we ever directly know the self in that truest reflective sense? we
Hard to
can
say.
we can know the body, or can we? It's always in a state of flux, right?
We're always in a state of flux and transformation, so we're
Yeah,
all little ships of Theseus walking around.
right. Yeah, living ships of Theseus. Isn't that true? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Graham, okay, this was a lot of fun. This is a really great collection. So, everyone, if you're interested in this, can people purchase this? Is this available?
Yeah, yeah. I have the copies now.
Amazing, amazing. So, if you go into the link here in the description, you can check out Graham has sent a link tree and you can get access to all of their writings, to their store, Things in My Chest. It's thingsinmychest.com, is it not?
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's the
yeah.
name of your publication house, and all of your poetry collections are available there, as well as your music and other things. Do you have anything else that you've been working on lately? What's going on with
Yeah.
you?
So I'm working on what I call my clozapine journal. I call it A New Reality, and it's about my relationship with taking clozapine over the past eight or so months. And that'll be released hopefully soon, in the next month or so. And then I'm also working on Things in My Chest Volume 2. So Volume 1 was 10 writers, and I donated the proceeds. Volume 2, there's 12 writers this time, and all talking about their mental health experiences or reflections on darkness and transformation. And I'll be donating the proceeds to Orchestra, which is a local organization dedicated to providing low-income children with musical instruments.
Oh, that's beautiful. Isn't that okay? Isn't that that
That's one
one
that
in
you sent me some poems for it. Yeah,
right? This is going to
that was
be a
like
lot.
last year.
This has been a long time coming, and you're. How many artists are you getting to contribute to this collection?
Aside from myself, there are 11 poets that have contributed to it.
That's amazing.
Um,
11 poets. Wow.
they're all fantastic writers. You know, some of them have never really written before. Others write a lot, and there's beautiful stuff. I'm really excited to put it out into the world.
Right. This is going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, I submitted a poem for you, a couple poems, I think. Did
Yeah,
you,
4.
Amazing.
They're all in there. Everyone was allowed to submit up to 4. Not everyone gave me that many, but that was sort of the cap. And that's going to be going to the printer next week. So the you can pre-order it now. It'll be ready in about a week and a half, and then I'll ship it out.
That's amazing. I'm excited for that. We'll have to do a deep dive into that one on the channel once you have that already.
That'd be fun. I'd love that.
Anything else in the works besides these two projects that you want to talk about?
Um, well, I mean, we were just talking before the stream about draconic works and putting together
Right.
some getting
So
some communities to pull together and contribute poems or artwork or what have you.
yeah, this is exciting. So Graham and I, as well as some people in the community, we had been working on this idea called Draconic Works Publishing. But because of your illness, we kind of put things on hold for a little bit. But we're now coming back to this idea. But the idea is to have our own publication house and to release, writings of ours and our friends, and eventually even to do translations. We have big dreams, but what we really want to start with to begin with is a poetry collection. So we want to do a community poetry collection where we're going to have several of our friends contribute poems and art, and we're going to do it around a theme of the muses. And we're hoping to do this as an ongoing collection series. So we'll do several volumes if people enjoy this. But the idea is to make these kind of community poetry collections that will contain poems and original art by our friends and the people in our
Yeah,
orbit.
so like a constellation of our thoughts and emotions.
Exactly. Right. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. So I'm really excited for that. That's going to be amazing. We've been really kicking around various ideas, and several of our friends have been writing stuff for years now. So it'll be great to actually get some of this going. On top of that, we're
Totally.
going to be bringing back Searching for Dragons. We're going to be doing more Searching for Dragons episodes. I'm really excited. I have 2 episodes in the works. One I want to do is George Sterling. And George Sterling is an incredible American poet. He has this incredible poem called A Wine of Wizardry that we're going to get into. One of the more magical pieces of poetry I've ever read. Um, and just a really fun guy. He has some wild stuff. Another poem called The Thirst of Satan, we're going to read. Um, his poetry collection, A Wine of Wizardry, actually caused sort of a minor satanic panic when it came out. And he's also famous for being the teacher and the close friend of Clark Ashton Smith, another poet that we recently discussed. We did a deep dive into their
Yeah.
poem, The Hashish Eater, or Apocalypse of Evil, which was so much
Yeah.
fun. So
Oh, I
that'll be
love
great.
that.
We're going to do George Sterling. And on top of George Sterling, I want to do Mary Shelley, but specifically, I want to talk about her book, The Last Man. And this is a really, really wild piece. So it's one of the first apocalyptic books that was ever written. And it's basically tells the story of a plague that ravishes all of the world and leaves only one person left. And you deal with these
Wow.
people as they're going through the decay, and really, really interesting stuff. But one of the coolest parts of the book, just to get you interested, the setup is wild. You have this mysterious narrator who enters into this long forgotten hidden Greek temple in Italy. Okay. And while plunging into the depths, they come across these leaves, and written upon the leaves are the words of the Cumaean Sibyl, prophecy from a bygone era. And the narrator takes these leaves and translates them into the story, The Last Man. So that's the setup.
That's really cool.
And you're led to
Wow.
believe that this is, so even though this is a apocalyptic story, it begins far into the future with someone discovering this relic telling this story of an apocalypse.
Wow. That's really cool.
Yeah, Mary Shelley is wild, really, really incredible author. So we're gonna have some fun there. But Graham,
Yeah.
you were gonna do you're diving deep into the latest Artaud collection. Talk to us
I
about this.
am. So the latest Artaud collection from Infinity Land Press, translated by Peter Valent, is the true story of Artaud Momo. And it's a collection. It's so when he was released from the asylums in 1946, he gave a sold out lecture to like 900 people. And this is the text that he read at that performance, as well as supplementary text from his manuscripts all around this the becoming of the Momo and the suffering he endured in the asylums, and
Wow,
how he
this is
tri
amazing.
I've only read about a third of it, so I don't know where it's going yet, but, that's my next pet project, of course, is because I love Artaud, you know?
Oh yeah, and I'm excited for this because my favorite piece of Artaud's that I've come across is Heliogabalus, but I'm also just really intrigued by his later period after he's gone through this transition and gone through the apocalypse. All of that magic, the assassination magic, the 50 picture, that later stuff is just so intense and visceral, and the idea of the Momo. So we should talk about this for a second because the Momo is just such a cool concept. But it's the fool, right? Well, what does the
Yeah.
Momo mean
So
exactly?
Momo, I believe, is Marseille slang for simpleton, but he uses the fool analogy because it's tied to the tarot, obviously,
Of
for him.
course.
And so it's, how the electroshock that he endured, would bring him into the liminal state of Bardo, where beings can feast on his seminal liquid and his thoughts, and he's been reduced to this fool kind of state by these treatments. if I'm being accurate about it. I can't, you know.
There's so much to this because it's also this wild idea too, right? It's related to the body without organs and the destruction
Yeah,
of the name. And right in the fool, right? Oh, sorry, in the tarot, the fool is the everyman, right? This is the beginning of the cycle, and it's Dionysus, but it's Dionysus as the stranger, as everyone, as that human potential, right? And so Artaud, by calling himself the Momo, by trying to become the fool in the tarot sense, is to become both no one and everyone. It's to become
exactly.
God, right? To reform the divine androgyne and return to that true wholeness of self. Really, really wild, magical stuff.
It is. So I'm excited to finish that text, and hopefully we'll present it to you all soon.
Yeah, that is going to be exciting. We'll have so much fun with that.
Yeah.
So, oh, we also had a question here. Christy is asking, any
Yeah.
music? Yeah, any music been going?
Um, Not right now. I mean, with the isosceles infection, we have an EP that we haven't released yet. We're just working on the mix for it. And that one is all themed around horror stories. So there's a stalker story, there's a possession story, one based off of the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, which is a 1920 surrealist German expressionist film, and one based off of Frankenstein.
Right.
And so we were just taking like using horror as a jumping point for like exploring mortality.
Amazing.
And
I do
then
know you. Go ahead. Sorry.
no, no, go ahead.
I was going to say, I do know that you had been working on some things in the last year that were really interesting. You did that hardcore, grindcore project with Mandy Moorhole,
That was
Farm Her.
really fun. Yeah,
And
Farmhurst.
you did two EPs now, which is pretty cool.
Two songs in one EP.
Yeah, one EP, sorry, two songs. But
No
that's pretty
worries.
fun.
And
Farmers.
and near the end of last year, I did Imperial Dirge, which we heard some at the beginning of the episode or our
Right.
talk.
Your harsh
That's
industrial project, which is really cool.
yeah, that dabbles in black metal and grindcore sometimes. But the music for the most part is on hiatus until my friend gets a better living situation set up. But we do have ideas on the go. And
Any more
lately, I've just
synth?
been. Hmm?
Any more synth stuff? I know you were doing synth
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. So I've been posting on my Bandcamp, grahamquinn.bandcamp.com. I've been taking text and putting it to like glitchy synth soundscapes that I've been writing. So
Awesome.
I did a couple Artaud readings, a reading from S by Doug Dorst, which is like a crazy book. Um, I've been keeping myself busy with those sort of spoken word electronic projects. And
Really, really
that's
cool.
it for now. That's it for now. The isosceles infection is not over. We're just on a short break.
Yeah, I'm excited for the new EP. That'll be fun when you guys do release that.
Yeah, some of our proudest works are on this collection. So
Amazing. All right. Well, that's awesome, Graham. This was a lot of fun. Everyone, please
yeah,
go check out this human face. You can purchase it now at thingsmychest.com. It's a wonderful collection, and support beautiful artists like Graham. And we'll be back soon with some more searching for dragons. So that'll be wonderful. Anything you want to,
can't wait.
any final words for our audience here? Anything you want to leave them with?
Dum Spiro Spiro, which is Latin for while I breathe, I hope.
Beautiful, right? We don't suffer, we leap into generation.
Exactly. Well
All right.
said.
Love it. All right. Thank you so much, Graham. And we're going to end here with the little outro that you composed for us. And this is by Imperial Dirge, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys. Peace and love, everyone. And good night. Enjoy the little bit of music here.